Hello, everyone. Here's another recording for Jesus. Turn the mind over to see what Jesus has to say. It's usually a message. It's always a message for me. It's not for anyone else. Yeah, I guess the thoughts are coming to mind around really what service is. And that service is an expression of divinity. There's an idea of what that looks like. That looks like helping other people, saving the world, some kind of action in the world that makes it different for, quote, others. This is a different kinds of service. This is a service of listen and follow. To really listen to the guidance from our own divine nature as the Holy Spirit, and then expressing out of our totality rather than an identified, some kind of limited idea that we have about ourselves. And it may look like something happening in the world, actually. I can remember going into the prison system a number of years ago, and that was very motivated by being a better person or a better coach. And yet there was such a willingness to listen and hear what was true from the Spirit and express as that. And to really follow and stretch outside the comfort zone. And that's what I see with the real service, is stretching outside of the comfort zone, because a personal identity is very focused on limitation, on its own limitations and on its comfort, when really the Spirit has no limitations whatsoever. Divine nature has no limitations. It doesn't follow the way of the world. And these are the miracles that Jesus is pointing to. It's the opening to willingness. Real willingness is just acceptance of divine nature right now as it's given. And that everything that it's in consciousness, points back to divinity. It's all divinity. It seems about doing something in the world or moving in the world, but really the greatest service is acceptance of divinity, of divine nature, that all is complete and whole right in this moment. There isn't something else to do. Yet there is a movement somehow in the expression of totality and the expression of love that seems to move through the body into the world and express in the world. Yet within the dream, a character moving in the world is very different from a being that moves in the recognition of totality and following the Holy Spirit, following that inner guidance. It's an opportunity to seemingly do things in the world in a way that actually reveals the truth of true identity, of the perfection of divine nature right now, rather than the standard staying within the dream and performing these actions, these repetitive actions that are very protective to a personal identity. So stepping outside of the comfort zone, many of the Spirit's assignments will be outside of a comfort zone. The typical comfort zone. Oh, it's not going to necessarily feel good at first. Sometimes, yes, often there is a deep spark in it, especially as there's more of reacclimation to spiritual nature, of divine nature, through repeatedly listening and follow. There's a recognition that listening and follow also often involves fear. It seems to bring fear to the mind. But in a lot of ways, that's truly the clearing of the idea that fear actually exists, as each of these assignments are undertaken by the Spirit, and then miracles and miracles after miracles happen over and over. And I think back on going into the prison system and really not having the Course in Miracles, and in a way not knowing what it's for, having some uncertainty, but there was like some kind of energetic around service. There was energetic around service, and not knowing how it would happen or how it would work out. But there was just a call to serve in some ways. Yes, there was this identity involved in it, wanting to be a better coach, but also there was a call to serve. And while it seemed at the time to be serving others, it was revealed tremendous love, because it was a deep look at whether beliefs are true in this coaching, and seeing, and much forgiveness. It was all pointing back to forgiveness and seeing what's true and really the beauty, and seeing beyond form, seeing the power in these beings, and seeing beyond an action that some body seems to perform, killing or molestation, or all the things of the world that the world would really call horrible, seemingly horrible. But it was such a deep opening to love, to look past these things and see that that the behavior was driven by beliefs. It was starting to open to see what true identity looks like. And to this deep love. And one of the stories that's coming to mind is one time I found myself standing in front of a class that seemingly was all these characters, drug dealers, all these angry, what might be called men, with all the characterizations that would be decorated in the world over dangerous beings, murderers, violent criminals. And standing in front of that board, writing on the board and talking about love. And I said, what you are is your big heart with little feet. Now, I didn't realize that was a message of the Spirit to me, to us. This is who you are. But there was such an opening to that coming through. And it seemed really odd at that moment to be speaking in front of that audience in particular, seemingly in the world, and saying, your big hearts with little feet, you're really love, and your only desire is for love. And there's the Spirit speaking right through all the seemingly appearances. And about 6 weeks later, and they really looked at me doubtfully, actually, a lot of doubt thoughts coming up on that. Like, what am I doing saying these things? And about 6 weeks later, when after graduation, they gave me a card of a drawing of a big heart with little feet, a man with a big heart and little feet. And they said, to a good-hearted woman from your big-hearted men. It just melts my heart even thinking about it. But these are just the opportunities offered by Spirit to see what's true beyond the form. And it was such good training to see beyond the form of what seemingly appears to be in form, and really the power that we walk with when we walk with the Holy Spirit anywhere, and seeing it was such good lessons from the Spirit to walk in that prison. And it was so much happiness because I was truly in service, in extension, in that mode of just listening and following. And that's really being helpful and asking. And even before the course or knowing anything about it, you can see that there are times in your life when the Spirit would just speak through you, because it's always a calling. It's not, it may happen, but for most beings, it seems like there's some part of their lives where they've really seen the Spirit in action well before even coming to the course, because they know that this life is only for that purpose of seeing what's true and recognizing their divine nature. So this isn't new to anyone. Any of us who've been around the block a few times in the expression and consciousness. It's just that mode of consciousness, of that limitation, of that contraction, it's just done. It's just finished. Now we're ready to see what we are, who we are, that we're unlimited by anything of this world, and to express that divinity in this world, and that love, and through having the Spirit move through us to express those words of comfort and love and gratitude to our brother, no matter how they look, that we're seeing and talking to ourselves, and the deepest love that we could ever have is always here. I love you all.